Hey everybody, welcome. It's Suzanne Gundersen from Screenwritenow. I work with writers and industry talent to help them relieve tension, relieve stress, and get into their natural rhythm and flow. And so today I am joined by Scott Nicholas Amendolare. He is a professional creative in film and television. He is known for works as like Chris Angel and Bridezilla. And so welcome, Nick. I know we call you Nick. Hello,
Yes,
welcome.
please. Thank you for having me. I'm grateful. This is new for me. I guess you could say you're my first interview, kind of, sort of, at least on
Wonderful.
Zoom.
So
Anyway,
here we are. What we want to talk to you today about, everybody, is having boundaries. And I know we've probably all been waking up, especially during
mm,
2020, to where we have said yes, where we really should say no. And Nick and I were having this conversation over video, no, over like instant message chat, I think a couple of weeks ago. And I thought this is a
hmm
really great idea for us to kind of hit the record button and share some ideas. So Nick, tell us a little bit about, why boundaries are so important to have in the business.
well, uh, because you could be taken advantage of if you don't have them. I mean, the most obvious thing when you want to have something, when you want to progress towards something, when you have goals, sometimes you could be emotionally caught up into what it is that's in front of you, and it may appear like it's good, but it's really not good. And to be honest, everyone says they're going to do something for you, and it does not come free. There are hidden agendas,
Mm,
there are hidden deals that they don't tell you about. And probably nowhere this is more obvious than back in the days of the casting couch. If you want this particular role, you've got to give me this. And that's how you have the whole Me Too thing. That's what resulted in the Me Too thing was this disrespect for boundaries and creativity. So if you don't have a clear understanding of who you are, your personal morality, and I know for people that's hard because mine is a little more traditional, and not to go into it, but I follow Christ, and that's troubling for people, given the misconceptions of what that means, especially politically.
mhm.
But what that has done is allowed me to go, well, and I do have blind spots and go, well, I know I don't want to do X, Y, and Z because that's not really going to line up with who I am. And if you know who you are and where you want to go, those temptations do get reduced. And I imagine a lot of women are going to watching this. And here's the deal: there is no film role worth your personal integrity. I don't care what anyone tells you; it will never pay off because these guys don't deliver, and they're vile opportunists. And it's okay to walk away because one day you're going to wake up and go, "Oh my God, what have I done?" And unfortunately, you become blinded to the allure of working in
Yeah.
entertainment, and it's tough.
Mhm.
And I'm
Yeah.
embarrassed to say, but my gender has been, uh, unfortunately, the greatest transgressors of the boundaries, and there's just no way around it.
Sorry, I'm just changing our view that we were side by side as we're watching the video. No, thank you so much for sharing all that. And that's really good wisdom for people to know about. In fact, the work that I do is really helping people to identify what their voice is, because for so long, we've been conditioned into belief systems to, believe what other people need us to say, to be.
Hmm.
And really the best way to express yourself and share your work is to be clear on who you are, and that message will translate to the people who are ready for that, to hear it. And there's a little
Yeah.
bit of a paradigm shift that's happening between the old and the new, the old way and the new way. The old way being, being living for what I think they're supposed to, what I think that they may be wanting to hear, as opposed to what it is that I want to share.
Well, I think you have a responsibility when you're a communicator, and authenticity is part of that. Um, I don't tell people how to live ever. I'm there to listen.
Mm.
If they want my advice, they want to talk to me as a friend, I'll listen, I'll talk to them, I'll be direct and honest. But I think it's dangerous to tell people how to think and what to think. I think you need to let people think, feel things, life should be about discovery, and here in the States we're more about I'm a list guy, and I'll be honest with you, this has wrecked a lot of relationships with women because some of them are more free flow because that's what I'm attracted to, but I'm a list guy, and unfortunately that has not always allowed me to be open to what's available and to be possible. But you have to be your authentic self regardless of what that is. And thank God I think we should not live in a homogenized world where everyone is cookie cutter and the same. I think
Oh,
that's
no, no. I
I
mean,
think
I
that's
believe
way
that, 7 billion people on the planet, we all fit together like a perfect puzzle when we're playing our part. And that's why
Yes.
it's so important these days for people to not only, start to, connect with who they are as their voice, but really own it like as a real strong value. And
Hmm.
that sharing that value with the world as a service is exactly how we all fit together in that puzzle of life. That there is no
Hmm.
one better than the other. In fact, we couldn't be here unless we were all together. And the
Hmm.
problem is that we've just been living in these little clumps and groups that have had us believing things outside of what we really feel.
Hmm.
And so the work that I do is I help these industry folks be able to clear out all of that noise and be able to transform within, to be able to identify what is their voice, start to nurture their voice, to be able to own it as a real strong value in the world, not what someone else has told them to believe or think or be, but
Hmm.
who they truly are. Because writers and industry professionals like yourself, creatives, this is not only an art, but it's a form of expression that is so important for those that can't express themselves. So that's why I love working with the
Hmm.
industry creative people, because at least they're in the right direction of wanting to have this expression. And I think there was a song written a few years ago by a girl that said, I'm not going to write you a love song. It was like her producer wanted her to write a song. And they said, well, just write a love song. She goes, I'm not going to write you a love song. And the whole song was about, I'm not going to sing you a love song. I'm not going to write you a love song. And it became like a big #1 hit, right?
Sounds like
So
a Taylor Swift song, to be
something
honest.
like that. It was like a top
Probably.
40 song. It wasn't her, but it was somebody else. And that, we're just have been on the receiving end of the instructions of how to live life instead of writing the rules for ourselves. One real easy way that I have found that I share with my clients is to help them identify the difference between a hell yes and a hell no. You know, like, so if you're wondering, is it safe for me to share with this person? Let your body be kind of the human pendulum of, am I going to wobble? Am I going to topple over? Is this okay or not okay? And just ask yourself, does this feel like a hell yes or a hell no? Does this person feel like a hell yes or a hell no? Am I clear enough in who I am, in my voice, what I'm wanting to share? Do I know what my pitch is? Do I know what it is I'm wanting in the world? Am I clear on that? And a lot of that is kind of making sure we know what we don't want, but then really identifying what we do want. And once we do, grab a hold of that. And then every time you're in front of somebody working, you ask yourself, does it feel like this hell yes of everything that I'm so clear about that I want? Or is it kind of a maybe? Or is it a hell no? Because maybe it's a hell no, in my opinion. But
Mm.
to know where the boundaries are to have with other people, I say it as easy as, is it a hell yes or a hell no? If it's a hell yes, then keep going. If it's a maybe, then hold back.
If you're true to yourself and if you're consistent in that,
Mhm.
you need to have boundaries with yourself too. And we're not often taught that. We're only taught that boundaries are interpersonal, when really you got to have boundaries within yourself. Like, for example, you talk about your dramatic weight loss and things like that. Well, there's a point where you got to go, well, do I want that cupcake? That's a boundary with yourself, and you're making a deal. Do I want to skip the gym today? If you can't manage your money, am I going to put this on my credit card? I mean, we make these negotiations every minute of every hour of every day of every week, month, and year, whether we like it or not. And if we don't have strong boundaries within our own self, the chances are they'll be blurred with other people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's how you can find out very quickly if you don't have those personal boundaries for yourself, is if you're not getting the answers that you want, or people are taking
Hmm.
advantage of you, or you're depleted at the end of the day, or you feel like your work was compromised, or someone took your idea and they turned it into something else. All of
Oh,
these things can happen.
that.
So that just shows that, you've
Uh,
got more of that personal work to do. And I don't want to be called like kind of like therapist for the industry people, but a lot of what I do is help people process their body, their emotions and their thoughts of stress to be able to become more comfortable and confident with their voice and knowing their boundaries and identifying that hell yes and hell no within themselves and honoring that and knowing how it all fits together with everybody else. So yeah, that's a great point that, when you're getting kind of a blurred signal from, out there in the industry, it's because you're just not clear enough. You need to have those personal boundaries.
Ultimately, you have to come to the realization that everyone's story is important, including yours. And once you do that,
Especially yours.
yeah,
Yeah,
and once you
especially
do
yours.
that, you'll be able to make better choices. I know it sounds kind of new agey, and it's not meant to be, but there has to be a logical progression of your choices.
Mm.
It's not just based solely on emotion, because sometimes our emotions lie to us. So sometimes you have to say, is this good for me? If the answer is no, a hell no, then just don't do it. And I know it's tough because the promise seems so real, but you don't know what's behind that promise. It could be no promise. I've had
I've
my work completely, just utterly racked up, and it was tough, man. It'll beat you up,
Well, I
you
think
know.
I think so many people listening will probably have that same experience too.
Oh,
But when you were saying before about new age, I think anything after 2020, everyone's going to be on the new age of life. I think we're all going to have to embrace a new way of living, a new way of how we think, a new way how we experience ourselves, how we experience the world. I think we're moving into a new age, whether it's kind of the old definition of new age or not.
right.
Um, and you mentioned not emotions lie to you. I don't subscribe to that. I believe that
Hmm.
emotions are all valid and important. It's just how do you learn to regulate them so that way you don't get stuck sideways or believing them over what really is going on.
Well, you
So
actually explained it better. What I mean lying to you is that you do have to discern what's really happening, like you said. That doesn't mean you disregard them, because sometimes you have everyone has a filter, and everyone has baggage. Okay, and sometimes you go into a new relationship or a new experience carrying old stuff with you. And honestly, that's kind of troubling for other people because if you don't manage your stuff, you could spill into areas that could hurt you. So I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, I'm not saying disregard your feelings or your emotions. Just make sure you own them, figure out, is this old stuff? Don't misinterpret things. And sometimes you can wait and let things play out a little bit without getting into trouble because you might miss the wonderful miracle in front of you because you're bringing old fears into a new situation.
and that's what exactly the work that I do is I help people process that emotional reaction to life that way that they can come back into their center and be in their voice and be identifying and holding on to their boundaries, their self-respecting boundaries. I mean, we are living in emotional bodies, so of course we're going to get emotional, but how we've just never been taught how to regulate our body stress, our emotional stress, our mental
Mm,
stress. And there's some really easy, effective tools that I teach and I share. So I'm gonna wrap this up for us now and just
of
say this has
course.
been a great conversation about boundaries. Hopefully, you all maybe got a little bit of nugget of wisdom from Nick sharing some of his experience and thoughts on this. And thanks everybody for listening. And I look forward to reading your comments down below this video. And if you have any interest to connect, feel free to reach out to me at screenwritenow.com. Thanks everybody.
Thank you again. I really appreciate it.